here, let me pull up their current website, which is this one right here. So if you're not familiar with, again, Leviathan has the big, of course, Leviathan as their moniker, a little bit on the nose, if you ask me personally, but they're involved with lots of things. The owner is a
Allegedly.
big fan. Well, they just are. It's not alleged. It's on the website. You can see it. That's the nice thing. I do like that they actually put their talent on the website, right?
We
This
do,
is
yeah.
alleged, right? So I mean, they're big fans of a lot of the UFC fighters. I think the owner Jake is friends with people like Dave Bautista and some other gentlemen, and you can see it's very heavy into UFC and then gun stuff. That's like the two main categories. There's some other like political content creators and whatnot on there, but a lot of the usuals are going to be on here. Even my boy, it's a Gundam. Sad days. But you sent me this link a little earlier. This is the old website, which looks a little different. The old website has a few more big names on it. So as you may or may not notice, on the actual thumbnail, a lot of those guys are no longer featured on Leviathan's website. They have, in fact, left. So this is the old tab, which is going to have a few more names due to the handy dandy Wayback Machine.
Yeah, I think I'll pull up the list here. Did I send you the list?
Let me see. It should be right here. Let me grab it.
They lost
the ones that you
a
sent me.
surprising amount of people.
Yeah, so
Very
and
quickly.
surprising names in there too. So you have Civilian Tactical and Johnny Q, who are like kind of the memes of the gun industry. They do shorts content and a bunch of other silly stuff, but they pull in a lot of views. A lot of views.
They sell a lot of product. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Which
they
is
do.
why I kind of think what we're going to talk about later, there's a reason why they probably left, which is probably similar to yours. Kentucky Ballistic, or no, not that one, sorry. Code Blue Cam, Administrative Results, Texas Plinking, Warrior Poet Society, Grantham, and Terran Tactical have all since left Leviathan. And why don't we go ahead and talk about their contract with you, allegedly?
Yeah. The if we had a contract with them, it would look something like promised. Yeah, here we go. It would look something like this. This is like potentially what it might look like if we had one.
Yeah, this is a Behemoth Assembly or Kraken Group LLC, whichever one you personally prefer. If we had a contract that we could look at, if such a thing were to exist and we had one. Indeed, Vintage Warfare says the Monolith Network, Juggernaut Alliance. Yeah. So well, I'll go for it.
Yeah, we signed on. Man, we started talking to them in August, September.
Well, that's the contract was signed in September 1st, and I think it ended October 31st. So it was like right at 13, 14 months.
Yeah. And then kind of the alleged paid review scandal, I would say, hit its peak in January of last year, I think. January, February, around that time. It was like the beginning of last year. And I remember talking to our rep at that time because, people have seen our reviews. You know how we do things. I don't pull punches at all. Not even a little bit. And that was one of those where I was like, we're on their website, right? My name's attached to this. So I'd asked them 10 times to make a statement being like, hey, we don't pay for good reviews. I'm like, just anything like that, any sort of statement where you're like, hey, we don't do that. I'm like, because right now we're attached to Leviathan Group. That negative tone is attached to the Leviathan Group. Even if it's not true, even if it's just alleged, it still affects my reputation and my image. Which 100%. I feel like is the most important thing when I'm a reviewer is that people understand that I'm just doing this to tell the truth. It's not a money-making scandal.
If they can trust what you're actually saying.
Yeah, because if you can't trust what I'm saying, I'm wasting my own time and money. There's like no reason for me to be doing videos. So they did not make a statement, and I was not the only creator that was frustrated with that. I think a lot of them were frustrated with that.
Well, I've talked to a couple, not, like Reno May was also attached to Leviathan Group, and a couple other guys in the chat actually were as well at one point or another. But there was a lot of crossover and like friendly fire.
Yeah.
So I think it was probably, to be clear, explicitly paid positive reviews are very unlikely. Very, correct. Very unlikely. In certain situations, possibly true, but with Leviathan, it's probably a little bit more subversive than that, so to speak. So for instance, if you have content creators, a wide variety of content creators, and you have a company, let's use Springfield as an example, because I know Springfield handed out a lot of guns to people who are going to give them very positive reviews. All right. But if I'm the marketing company and I'm going to be handing out different contracts to different people for review, I'm not going to give Desk Papa a Springfield M16A2 clone. That's probably not going to run. Not going to do that, right? I might send it over to somebody like Johnny Q, who actually did get one of those. Not saying that that is a paid review, but that he is going to be much less harsh on it, and he's going to be much more positive in general than somebody who's going to shoot 10,000 rounds to it, right?
Right.
So I know as
a better ROI for them too, because they
100%.
Yeah. And so that's kind of why
it's
we saw
skews
happen.
where like and so even if you're in that pool, so to speak, doing the right thing, that water that you're in, just by being in that Leviathan brand, kind of gets tainted. Even if there is no actual, like, legit, you will say positive XYZ about our product, or we will terminate you type of thing going on. Because to be clear, that's not in the contract.
Right.
None of that language is in the contract whatsoever. Now, it's possible that there's closer workings with some of the bigger guys, some of the bigger accounts. It's possible that, you know, in certain sectors that people might get to that line.
Well, I mean, to be fair, like if you want a good review on your gun, you just send it to Coleon and you get a good review, because every gun's the best gun he's ever shot, you know? So it's like, I mean, paid for good reviews. Yeah. Anything Coleon reviews is a good review. So, yeah, I think what we all saw happening is just like, as you saw, we didn't get jobs, and then we were told, like, and the same thing you said, friendly fire. We were told, like, hey, Leviathan tribe's tight knit. You know, we didn't interact with like any of the people in Leviathan tribe. PSR is the exception. PSR is the homie. But and then we did the SDI video. As you know, you did one too.
Right.
And after that, we did not receive a single contract, and also we got told that we wouldn't receive flack from Leviathan tribe creators because they wouldn't tolerate that. And then the Unsub podcast went on like a 30-minute rant calling our channel a little channel full of hate.
That was a weird one.
Yeah.
That was strange. Yeah, because that whole ordeal happened around that same time too. Yeah, that was quite funny. And then he almost threatened people, which was, again, just very strange.
You know? Unintentionally almost threatened, allegedly, to take our... No, he did. He threatened to take our channel down. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't get it. I didn't get that one. So to be... SDI ads, were they run through Leviathan Group?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So that would create quite a conflict of interest, because that video that you put out did quite well. What's it up to now? Almost 500,000 views? Something like that?
Something like 500,000 views.
Yeah, it did very, very well, which was great, because people should know that SDI is...
I get comments every day from people who are commenting, and they're like, I'm in SDI and I'm dropping it because I agree with this video. So it's actually served its purpose. Like, there's a lot of people who are frustrated with SDI's education, and now that's a sounding board for them, because SDI paid the website I used is like College EDU, and they do the online college reviews. SDI paid them to take their whole page down now, so you can't even see it. Yeah, you can't see it anymore. It's gone. They paid them to take it off. So
that's insane.
That's a fun one. Yeah, the way back
they had nothing to hide. I thought they were a good service.
They're great. I don't know what's happening. Yeah.
You know who I had come? I don't know if I want to talk about it. I had one of the big SDI guys come after me the other day for it, and it's quite comical, because he's also sponsored by them. So I was like, all right, buddy. But we'll move on from the SDI stuff, because people have heard about the SDI stuff for a lot.
Well, I mean, I think that played a role, right? Because then then that spirals into like what caused our termination from Leviathan Group. After that, I mean, we've been trying to work with Gideon Optics for 5.5 months, and we didn't get an offer for 5.5 months. So not only is our marketing agency, our agent, not giving us work at all, but I'm trying to get a company that wants to work with us, that we really like. Like I've told you, I really like the Gideon guys. I like what they're doing in the industry, and more importantly, their warranty is really good and easy to use, which to me, who breaks stuff all the time, that's a big deal. If I smash an optic, being able to replace it. And so I'd done that independently and tested their warranty. And I still encourage people to test their warranty if they break stuff. But yeah, we work with them, and they reached out to Leviathan Group, and Leviathan started doing this thing that they told us about. And this is all allegedly, right? Because this is where it gets a little bit tricky.
Right. So the following is not in writing.
The following is not in writing. It is from in-person conversations over the phone and at events, and from multiple sources, not just one company, because I have confirmed it with 2 other companies that I'm pretty close with. But the way it worked is, when Leviathan, and it's in the contract, when Leviathan negotiates for you, they take 10%. And so when you sign on as a small creator, you'll read this and you'll be like, oh, cool, they take 10%. This makes total sense, right? They make 10%. So if I make $300, they make $30. That's totally fair, because they're just billing people, right? I'm doing all their content production. What they What they don't say in here is that it's anything they negotiate on your behalf, not gross compensation total. And so the jobs they're offering their creators, they're taking allegedly a lot more than 10% of. And so with Gideon, we had negotiated a contract, and instead of just signing that contract with them and saying, okay, we'll take our 10% cut, they were trying to convince allegedly Gideon to buy a much, much, much more expensive package, and they were calling it a package and guaranteeing clicks for that package.
So let's break it down to really get into the nitty gritty of it.
Yeah.
So Leviathan and you have a contract together. I believe there is a 6-month dry phase period where either you deny all of their ad offerings or they don't offer you an ad in that 6 months. You two can terminate the contract, right?
Yep.
And then in terms of what they offer you, they're telling you they get 10% off the top, basically. So if a company's going to offer you $1,000, you think they're going to take 100 off the top, and then you get the 900, right? Or whatever it is. That's kind of what it's supposed to be. However, that is only for ad offers that they directly work on for you.
On your behalf. Yeah.
Correct. So what that means that is essentially, like you're going to say about Gideon Optics in just a second, is that if a company, let's just name any company out there, says, hey, we want XYZ package of big dollars, and then Leviathan will take that money and then might separate that through different content creators, but that's not a 10% split. That money is kind of nebulous. So let's talk about the Gideon Optics one.
Yeah. So yeah, at the point that a company gives them, X money for a marketing thing, well, then Leviathan becomes a business. And the business is in the business of making money. And so what they do is they offer all the creators the lowest amount they can offer them to get the most amount of clicks for the dollar, because they get to pocket the rest when they complete their contract. So with Gideon, theoretically, in theory, they were trying to get them to buy packages that started at $25,000 instead of just signing us for a small, much, much, much smaller amount of money every month.
So to be clear, you were talking with Gideon, but like you're supposed to go through your agent, which is Leviathan. They're your signed agent. So you're like, okay, let's do it. Let's work together, but let's go through Leviathan, right? And we'll do this dollar amount. They'll take 10% off the top and I get the rest. But instead, Leviathan's like, nah, I'd rather take way more from you, like a very expensive ad package.
Exactly. Yeah. Because we had sorted it out with Leviathan, everything down to the dollar amount. And it wasn't, it's not like a crazy amount. It's just, I'm tired of doing the 30-second ad reads in videos. I think that they distract people, and I think they suck. Everyone taps through them. I tap through them.
I do the same thing every time I see him. Sorry,
I don't blame you. Video, you tap through them. And I'm like, this got to be a better way. I like their products. Like, I'll incorporate your product into my videos and give you a banner. So that way people can see our optics. They can see your optics getting abused for the next year, for the next 6 months in our videos, getting just trashed, and be like, oh, they actually run. All right, I'm going to do it. Right. And they don't get spammed with a 30-second ad. They just get a billboard, which Grantham, thank you, Grantham, actually, for
it works way better.
Yeah. Piloting the billboard for SDI. And it clearly works. It grows companies.
Well, now it's Primary Arms. Primary Arms.
Oh, Primary Arms.
Yeah.
So that's the billboard thing. So that's what we had worked on with them. And yeah, we couldn't get a contract dialed in. And that was, I met them at TriggerCon and we talked about it. And then we met them at a shoot in Colorado and nothing came of it. And meanwhile, I'm texting my agent and I'm like, hey, do we have that, the Gideon Optics? And he's just like, oh, whatever, I'm working on it. And then, you know how they are when they're not trying to work with you, they'll flake. And so, yeah, we finally just got frustrated and I went, all right, my buddy has a ad agency. I haven't gotten any offers for 6 months. I'm like, we'll just send you an invoice and we'll go through with it on that way. And I'm like, and we'll just set it up and we'll run it, because at this point I'm, 5.5 months dry with nothing paying the channel bills. And you've seen my content. It's not,
well,
it's not
the annual bill alone is
make, so
yeah. Well, most YouTubers, if you can get away with a even split, like you're doing pretty well.
If I can break even, I'm happy. Or if I can pay for
doing other things,
I'm happy. Yeah.
Yeah, that too.
And
that too. Right.
That's like my biggest thing is, I mean, our cameras aren't cheap. I just bought a slow-mo camera. So we have north of
that gets expensive very fast. Yeah. Hootie was in the chat. He says Leviathan has 4 or 5 dudes they love and make a lot of money. Everyone else they rip off and waste their time. So to kind of break it down a little bit, essentially, you had negotiated with Gideon a smaller amount.
Yeah.
right? A reasonable amount. However, so instead of giving you a good amount of money and, taking their cut off the top by trying to upsell them to this insanely expensive ad package, they essentially took all of your money away, right?
Yes.
That you could have gotten that. So
Yep.
they were the idea is that they're supposed to be connecting you with brands. They're supposed to be helping you out. They're supposed to be putting money in your pocket, getting you paid for your work, so to speak. But in this case, they were actively like they were working against you,
They
basically.
were
They were
actively
stopping you.
working against us. So like, yeah, and Gideon will attest to this. We were used as literally a leverage point. Like, do you want to sign with Despop? Then you have to buy this thing. And we were a hard
Because
leverage
you're
point.
exclusive. You're exclusive through Leviathan, right?
Exclusive through, yeah, there was no other option. You're exclusive through Leviathan. And yeah, literally trying to work with them. And what happens, that's why we got dropped. Allegedly, I definitely wasn't told in a phone call that the main reason we got dropped is because they were using us as a huge leverage point and they thought Gideon was about to fold. And I'm just out here like, okay, 6 months of me losing revenue, as far as I'm concerned, we could have had 6 months of revenue from Gideon.
Yeah.
Those 6 months. And so as far as I'm concerned, they allegedly took money from me. In theory, that would be what I would.
Right. Well, they they got in your way rather than doing their job and helping you. They were a stumbling block, right? They're putting
Yep.
you. They're in the way,
Well,
right? And for you, that's how your model works. That's a huge deal, right?
yes.
Because I mean, even if we're talking like a few $1,000s here or there, to some people that may not sound like much, but that's a lot of ammo for a lot of videos.
Yep.
Right. And especially when you're doing this as a hobby, as your second gig, basically, right? And you're working a full-time job on the side, right?
Yep.
It adds up. It's a lot. It's a lot to take money out of your own pocket to do like fun informational videos.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So, yeah, Leviathan has a tendency to make a lot of money and not actually be good for the creators in some circumstances. And that's what we've heard from a lot of the guys that have worked with them, that have left. Like, I mean, you started out at that lower tier, probably, 30 to 50,000 subs, somewhere in that range. And then, a year goes by and you're now triple the size, but your contract rate hasn't changed.
Same amount of money every time. Yep.
Yeah.
And that was a big point for us because we realized, and I feel like they kind of prey on that because the small creators are the ones who get the cheap clicks. Like they really are. Like that's where you get your cheap clicks from. Like a small creator will do stuff for free too. Like if I send a small creator a product, he's like, oh cool, I got a free product. That's perfect.
And people are extremely excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, wow, I'm honored that you would send me this $200 product. Now I'm going to go spend $500 producing this video. What a great day, right?
Well, and that's literally
At least
me,
got something
right?
free.
So
yeah. Well, yeah, that's exactly how it goes, right? So even if I get something for free, rifles or whatnot from fans to test out, it's still a big investment of time, and the ammunition is probably the most expensive part. So